morning, everybody. Welcome to the Moms Making Money Show. I am so excited to have my friend Coode here. She has the most awesome business, like something that she taught me so much when we first met. And I feel like anybody who is part of this virtual space, this social networking thing that we all do now, you definitely need to hear what she has to say and learn what she has to teach us today. If you're hopping in live, please feel free to ask your questions. I suspect that many of us will have lots of questions. I know I certainly did when I first started learning about everything that Kat has to offer. And if you're catching the replay, go ahead and type in replay. And we also have a gift for you guys at the end. I went ahead and posted the link up above, but we'll post it in the comments below too so that you have easy access to find it. But also to make sure that, you know, you guys stay for the whole thing and take full advantage of this really generous gift that Kat's given us. So I'm going to turn it over to Kat, and because I know that I will totally screw this up if I try to tell you what she does exactly. And I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got into it.
Sounds good. Hi. Good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you're listening from.
It is
so I was a software developer for a very, very long time. I worked in Canada at a company called RIM, which makes BlackBerry, which is not as cool as iPhone, but it was at the time. And I spent over 10 years doing software development, software architecture, and management there. And then I had this epiphany when I had my kids where I kind of said, thank God I'm raising my kids in this digital world and I actually understand what they're doing and what's going on online. And then I started digging into things like terms and conditions, because how many people read them? Nobody.
I just read mine and I didn't
read them. Nobody reads them. If you read that, there's usually like if I've got a whole room of people and I ask who reads the terms and conditions, I always get one person. I usually get one person who reads them. But I started looking at all that stuff and I realized I really had no idea where our data was going and how it was being used and how accessible it was to the public. So I launched my company, Binary Tattoo. So binary is the language of all things digital, and tattoo because of the permanence of everything we do on the internet. And so my original goal was to teach kids and parents, but now I also do corporate and professionals because especially as entrepreneurs, if you're running your own business, your reputation is your business. And so if somebody finds something online about you that they don't like, that could cost you a client. And unfortunately, nobody calls you and says, I really didn't like this Facebook post, so I'm not going to hire you. You just never know.
This wacky image or
yeah, pretty much. Or I saw you like this group and I can't be your client because of it.
Yeah, especially with politics these days, it's so divided.
It is very divided. And every time you like something, which I'm happy to repeat again later, every time you like something online that's public, that is publicly accessible. I don't care how well set your privacy settings are set, I can find it, which means other people can find it. So yeah, so if you are very pro-Trump or very anti-Trump, you are polarizing people. And if that's the kind of topic where you're like, I don't care, I don't want someone to hire me if they're on the other side, then that's fine. Like if you'll stand behind it. But as professionals, often we're like, okay, that doesn't matter in this case. I want to work with you in this professional level, in which case you want to make sure you're not publicly declaring things that are going to send someone away from you as a client.
Right, for sure. I remember, so Kat and I met during like this training course, kind of like workshop mastermind thing. And I was talking with her and she's explaining to me what she does and she's asking me what I did. And all of a sudden she's like, oh yeah, I see this. And she's like, I know all about you. And I was like, wait, what? But that was like so impactful for me because I was like, holy crap, like you found all this information in less than like 3 minutes. And you're like, yeah, this, and this. And you're like, oh, and did you know that you have this on the internet? And it wasn't anything bad, but you're like, do you know that that's there? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I was so overwhelmed and I was like, holy crap, you guys, like this stuff, like it was so eye-opening for me because it's not even anything that I'd ever thought about. I'd never even considered like being a thing. And it really, really is. Not to mention, you know, you talked about your kids and, you know, like how you're savvy on what's going on in this digital, you know, friendship place, this social
Yeah.
place, you know, because there's all those other kind of scary things that go on, and, you know, and people like target kids for different things, you know, good and bad, but it's kind of like scary, like, holy crap, there's so many things out there. And so somebody like you who is like, yeah, I know exactly what's going on. I know exactly what my kids are posting. I know exactly what people can see, what people are looking for, all those kinds of things. Like, that's the kind of things that like parents should worry about. And we, you know, like, guilty as charged. I had no idea, didn't even cross my mind. I mean, my kids are real little.
Yeah.
So
but it happens quickly, right? It happens fast. And one day your kid's not on the internet at all. And then the next day they're using something like Roblox, or Fortnite is super popular with the middle school kids, which is an online gaming platform. So yeah, there's all sorts of things that really take off. I think kind of what you're alluding to is this.
Even kids' YouTube is.
Yeah, like, YouTube. But grooming's very popular. So if I see you on the road, or if someone sees me and they're like, hey, Kat, my instinct is always to be friendly, right? If you see someone in the grocery store, your instinct is to be like, oh, hey, who is that? Who is that? You would never just kind of go hide in another aisle and go, I don't know who that is, so I'm just going to walk over here. Your instinct is to act nice first and then figure out who they are. And because of that, we tend to let our guard down. And so if you can grab enough information about someone online, it's very easy for me to go, hey, Amy, remember our kids were in that daycare together and they used to play soccer? And even though I've pulled that out of your Facebook profile, you don't know that. You're just going to go, yeah, sure. Because
I'm like, oh, yeah.
You want to be friendly, right? You want to be friendly. And so, yeah, it's very easy to do with kids. Kids leave a trail of little pieces of information and the schools they go to, the soccer teams they're on, and all this kind of stuff. And so that is where the fear comes in there, is that people are able to grab that information. So I always tell kids, but the same with adults, if someone contacts you and you're really not sure, you should have that element of doubt. You should say, by the way, where did I meet you again? What was your kid's name again? Yeah, you should always have that kind of element of doubt, because best case scenario, it is who you think it is. And then you're like, oh, yes. But especially in this world where we do have these online presences, I may feel like I know you because I've seen you.
Right.
And then I see you somewhere else and I'm like, oh yeah, there's Amy. Hi. And you're like, it's like a celebrity status without the celebrity, but yeah, that happens too.
And even like us, like, okay, so we met, when was it, like last October-ish?
Yeah. October, November.
You know, it's like, and we've gotten to know each other, but we've never met in person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we know a lot of different things about each other, and we connected over certain different kinds of personal things, you know, like my husband being from Canada and, you know, you doing stuff in Canada. And, you know, we had that kind of connection. And I think that too allows people to let their guards down, because even though you can develop real friendships, real relationships, real everything online, I think that just the ease of all of that, it does make you so comfortable that you do forget that other stuff going on out there. And, you know, everybody kind of like identity theft. Everybody kind of has this whole thing like, it could never happen to me, but it totally could.
Yeah. Well, one of the popular identity theft scams that's happening right now is kids' birthdays. So depending on where you are, all you need to apply for credit in some places is a birthday and a name. So, I'm not blaming anyone, because I've seen parents do this all the time, but the happy 4th birthday to my darling, and with the, and then there's the first name, the middle name, the birthday, and I know the parents' names. And so technically you could apply for credit with just that information, especially if the kid doesn't already have a social insurance number, because you could go and create it on their behalf. And then the child one day becomes 18, 19 years old and goes to apply for their own credit card. And then suddenly they're told that they have no credit, or their credit score is really low. And how did this even happen? Right. Because someone drained it 15 years ago. So that is currently happening. Like, little innocent pieces of information that we're sharing can be used against us.
Yes. So, I mean, I guess with all of that, like, so it is a scary thing, you know, and not to deter people from starting an online business. Like, maybe you could share a couple of things, like when you first started out, like to go out on your own. Like, I know that you did other, you know, like software stuff and all the techie stuff that's like for me. I lump it into the term techie stuff.
It's techie stuff.
I am. And so I know that you came from, a very good corporate type of background and very, very well established, very well educated. What really brought you over to, doing your own thing, and what kind of obstacles were you like up against when you actually made that shift? I mean, what were the things that you were like, oh my God, can I do this? Like the self-doubts and the fears that kind of crept in that you had to overcome.
So for me, the reason I made the change was for my kids. And there's a lot of industries like this, but for tech, in a tech city, it is 60 hours a week. And because you're always connected, people have that expectation that if they email you, you will email them back, and you are available at 11 o'clock at night and on the weekend. And that's great if you want to do that, do it. But we shouldn't be obligated to do it. And it felt that way. So the reason I went out on my own was to be able to structure my hours around my kids. And now that my children they're elementary school aged, but between 3:30 and 6:30, I am all on them. That is pickup and dinner and homework and getting them to lessons. And I can work after that. And I do. And I work on weekends and I work at weird hours. But it gave me that space to do that. So that was the reason I did it. It was never, I think it can't be a get rich quick scheme because as an entrepreneur, it takes anywhere from 3 to 5 years to get turnaround on money, unless you are like that 1 in a million. It's a lot of hard work, no matter how you slice it. And you have to really be passionate about what you're doing. So you can't do it because you think, oh, I'm going to turn around and sell this multi-level marketing thing because then I'll get $5,000 a week by hardly doing anything. You really have to put your heart and soul into it and be passionate about it. And as you would know, there's good days and bad days. So on those bad days, you have to be pulled through by the reason why you do this, which is the love for what you do. I think the hardest thing for me coming from another job and coming from corporate was the paycheck, to be very honest. Because I never really, it sounds ridiculous. I never really thought about it, but when you are having a bad day, if you're sick or you're tired, you could go to work and get very little done and still get paid for that day. At the end of the day, you're still getting paid whether or not you produced 8 solid hours of work or 5 or 2, or you chatted with a coworker or the thing you worked on was canceled. But when you're working on your own and you're sick and you don't work that day, nothing happens. And that was like a real eye-opener kind of for me, where I'm like, this is all on me. This is all on me. And like you and I had discussed this with deadlines, is like, people like, why haven't you done this thing yet? It's like, because it's just me and I have to figure out life and prioritize myself. So yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult on a day-to-day basis to say, I need to take a day for me and not kill myself for this deadline.
Well, and that's kind of, and in the beginning, it's a lot of hustle. It's a lot of, like really putting your head down and working, and, and that's all great. And then you get things into like an automation and it takes some of that load off of you. And so that becomes nice, but you still have to set up the automation. You still have to set up, you still have to write the emails that go into those automations. You still have to put the program together. You still have to record the content. You still have to write the workbooks. Like, yeah, you only have to hopefully do it one time, unless you like doing stuff like live workshops, then you have to deliver that live, of course. But, but all of that, like getting into that, it's a process and it's work. And so, no, it's not a get rich quick thing. So you really do have to love it. And that's one of the things that I like to teach my clients is like, don't just get on this new kick, like don't go sell luxury hair care if you're bald type of thing. Like if you're a bald man and you shave your head every day, like, like Bic razor, like it's going to be a pretty hard sell, most likely for you to get women to buy your product. So it's kind of, if you sold it and I'm like, oh, look at her long, gorgeous hair. Yeah, I'm going to probably buy it from you because that brings in that, I'll have what she's having kind of factor. Yeah. But you have to, you have to lead with you. You have to lead with your story. You have to lead with why you love it so much, not like the stock photos that people are like, is that a real person? Are they airbrushed? Did they really lose that weight in this time by using that thing or whatever? Because people are skeptical, like, yeah, rightfully so. But yes, definitely the passion is what keeps us going, because it doesn't matter how well established you are. And even it doesn't sometimes matter how much you love what you do. That little bug of self-doubt sometimes creeps in and you're just like, is this what I should be doing? Is it? And then you're like, hey, self, snap out of it. This is what you should be doing because you're good at it. And this is what it does for other people. So I love that you brought that up about starting a business is not a get rich quick thing. It doesn't matter if it's brick or mortar or online. Like, yeah, there's a possibility in MLM, that you can get, it's a minimal investment, but you can start earning income right away. But you still have to, share. You have to
work.
You have to do the work.
Yeah.
And there's different ways to approach it so that you're not like a slave to Facebook, a slave to social media. Like, oh, hi, Samantha. Samantha's waving at us. Because sometimes one thing that I see, and I've been guilty of this myself, is all you do is focus on like, I got to be on Facebook all day. I've got to answer everybody's questions right away. I've got to send those emails back at 11 o'clock at night. So I think one thing, and I think you've done this pretty well, even when you shift, and we're taught that in corporate, like I've got that sense of urgency, coming from a masculine space. It's like, we got to respond right away, or they're going to think that we're screwing around or whatever. Right. So we bring some of that over into our business. And then later we realize like, oh my gosh, if I don't set these boundaries right now, then this is going to take over my whole life. So one of the things I teach kind of from the beginning is set those boundaries. Like if you want to check emails between 9 and 11 in the morning and then 3 and 5 at night, or whatever works out for you, before you pick up your kids from school, and set some of those boundaries. And then you just tell your people like, yeah, I respond to emails, in the mornings, every morning, and then again sometime in the evening or afternoon. People are like, no, yeah, okay. Like, yeah. And if they have a problem with it, then they're not your ideal client anyways, So it's like, most people don't seem to have a problem with that. So
I think too, because most of us work from home, it took me a long time to not change the laundry the minute the laundry binged and not answer the phone.
Yeah.
When my mom called, right? Like there was if I was in an office right now, would I do this? So if you've been sitting and writing for an hour and you want to take a break and go change the laundry, yeah, great, change the laundry. But it's this constant demand of pinging and ringing. And I was just like, every 5 minutes I was up and I was doing something. But in terms of the email, I know they've done lots of studies with this. If you're focused on a task and you break that task to go do another task and then come back again, you're getting less done in the long run. So yes, it is much better to say, you know what, from like the 55 to 0 on every hour, I'm going to check email. Or like you said, from 3 to 5, I will be available to answer emails and do that thing. Because technically, if you were booked in appointments or meetings, you wouldn't be answering them anyway. So
and that's kind of ideal to be booked in meetings and with clients and
exactly.
Yeah. Agreed. I totally fully agree. And so there are, there are those things that you have to overcome. Like when you leave your corporate job, you're kind of like, oh, I went from having this like influx of money, whether it's a lot of money or a little bit of money, it was consistent money, to like, oh, now I have business expenses and I have all these other things. And, and then I feel like that, well, I know that puts like this like kind of like negative energy, stigma, alignment into people, and they start trying to sometimes sell from a place of fear and a place of lack. Like, oh my God, where am I going to get that next sale? Where am I going to get that next customer? Instead of just like easing into it, showing up authentically, and really sharing their actual like genuine heartfelt message, they're like, oh my God, like they're trying to rush it and trying to push it because they see like, they see somebody who's been doing the business, maybe it's multi-level marketing, and they see somebody who's their upline and has been doing it for 5 years. Yeah, they've already got a following. But if it's day one for you, you still have to let people know that you're even in business. You know what I mean? So it does take time.
And you have to spend money to make money. I hate to use this cliche, but you do, right? There is a point where you have to say, I'm going to do this thing, so I'm willing to invest money in it because I believe in it and I'm passionate about it and I'm in it for the long run. But you do. And like you'd alluded to, there's tools like Hootsuite. Hootsuite costs me $10 a month, but it lets me bulk load all my messaging. So I have over 150 articles that I've written, and I've got like 70 promotional items. So I have them each in a spreadsheet, and then every month takes me 10 minutes. I add whatever's new. I bulk load them into Hootsuite, and then especially with Twitter, because Twitter is one of those places, and I don't know if you're even on Twitter, I looked for you, but Twitter is one of those places where people don't come to your page and read it like they do with Instagram and Facebook. Twitter is just a constant barrage of messaging, and if you get someone while they're on there, you've got them, and if you haven't pinged them while they happen to be visiting the network, they don't see you. So Twitter is one of those places where you should really deliver your messaging as often as possible.
Right.
So yes, $10 a month for me. Otherwise, I was like, this is taking me hours. What is my time worth? And often you need to do that, which is like, to me, my time is worth $20 an hour. That's my minimum. And if I can pay $20 or less for anything that saves me an hour of time, I will do it. And that's kind of
I can find somebody who will put my laundry away for $20 or less.
Yeah. Yeah, but even like there's things that are worth spending, like even if you want a cleaning lady or you don't want a cleaning lady. I mean, that's hours of your time. So if you can find someone, whatever your hour is worth to you, which is not to say that's how much you charge for consulting or that's how much you charge a client, but what is your time worth? Because that's your hour back again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like too, like that hour, say, or maybe it's 3 hours that it takes somebody to clean your house, say. Yeah, that's, say, maybe it's $60. Let's just go with the $20 an hour. Maybe it's $60, but maybe in that 3 hours, you've earned $1,000, or maybe you've earned $100, or you know what I mean? Like you're building something that is going to pay you back massively compared to that. So I think about that kind of stuff, like in the long run. I also think about, like, I've worked my butt off all this, you know, over the years. Like that's the one thing that's like a non-negotiable. I will keep working so that, you know, I don't have to worry about scrubbing the toilet every Saturday. You know, I get to go do the things with my kids and all that kind of stuff, which, you know, some people, you know, they throw out like the mom shame, and I've come to the point where I'm like, you want a house cleaner too. You don't, you know, I've not yet met anybody who loves laundry and scrubbing toilets. So
yeah, I hear you. But if they do, I mean, please, or they can come do mine. But
I'll pay you $20 an hour.
I really hate cleaning toilets.
I really hate doing laundry. I'd almost rather clean the toilet.
And I have girls. I don't even know. Like if I had little boys, I do it.
Then you have to clean the floor too. No.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I'm just not for me. No, we've got to stop with the mom shaming, which is another thing. Like everyone's got to do what's right for them. We are all trying to, this world is hyper crazy. Everyone is judging everyone else, and you just have to get over it.
Well, and this social space, like this virtual space, it allows like this, I call it like cyberbullying, and maybe that's like the real term. I don't know.
Yeah.
Behind their keyboards, and they're like, oh, this is what you should be doing. Like I did a video one time about, gosh, I don't even, like Fergie had a bad performance or something, and everybody was like, she did some different rendition. I didn't see it, so I can't really speak to whether it was good, bad, or whatever. She did a different rendition of the national anthem.
Yeah.
And people were like, sending her messages on her social platforms, like, you suck, that was horrible, like all these like terrible, terrible things. And it's just like, you don't think that Charity doesn't feel like horrible about, you know how we are, like, especially, you know, I can't even really say especially women, but like something doesn't go the way you planned it to go, you already are like beating yourself up over it. And then to get this like huge influx of like negativity, like
it's trolls. It's trolls. That's what they're.
Yeah. And so he went on and he was like commenting on my thing, and I was like, do I delete this or do I just say like, thank you for like proving my point? Like, thank you.
Well, you're never supposed to feed the troll. That's like the number one rule. And especially with kids, and people should know this too with their kids, if they're online, is you never feed the troll. And capture it. If someone's really bullying you, like harassing you, you want to capture that because you can use that to report them, but you never want to respond to them because that's what they want. And the problem is you may be the bigger person and you may say exactly what you're saying, like, thank you for bringing to light the fact that people are harassing her. And then he might come back at you, and then eventually he might break you down and cause you to say something you don't like.
Right. No,
and now you're in the hole with him. So it's easier. Yeah, I'm with you. Delete it. I've had a few. So I have a YouTube channel. And all of my videos are how social networks work, how people use them, and the safety aspects about them. And once in a while, I will get a teenager going, this is stupid. Everyone should be able to use it. You're dumb, or whatever it is. and then I will delete them.
Yeah.
I'll delete them because they're not adding to anything. I'm not going to give that person attention. I will say, see, here's my one stalking. This is my good internet stalking story. There was a YouTube comment, and the picture looked like a woman our age, and it was like so crass and rude. And I was like, exactly like you're saying, what kind of person says that? So I go over to her site, and it was so clear that she had this 10-year-old daughter that had posted videos on her site that has access to her YouTube channel, because the language coming out of these videos from this kid. So we'll call her Cassie. I can't remember what her name was, but so on the comment on my YouTube, which had the mom's name on it, I responded with, "I'm sorry you feel this way, Cassie." I just left it there. You freak her out a little bit. So yeah. She knows she can't hide behind her mom's picture on the internet, because I know who she is. I don't usually do that, but I was like, this kid's going to get herself into trouble. Let's be honest. She is like publicly posting rude comments. And so, yeah, that's the only time I've ever done that. She never answered, of course.
You probably scared her, which is good.
She needed that. Sometimes you need that. Like when I talk to kids and parents, the idea isn't to scare you. It's to scare you. It's like saying drinking and driving. I mean, the reason MAD exists, right, is to scare you enough not to do it.
Right,
so,
right.
Yes, like there are things on the internet. The internet's amazing. I always say the internet's like driving a car, because 99% of the time you get to where you're going and there's never a problem. Right. And we know there's an inherent risk about getting in a car. You could have an accident, but we do it anyway because the benefits of driving are so much better than not driving that we use cars. So internet's the same thing. Like the benefits to the internet are huge, even though there are risks. But with a car, we follow rules and we're careful and we get licensed. And the problem with the internet is we just don't have that licensing. And that's where we run into problems. And so people have to self-control and self-license themselves. So we are driving on highways with no signs and no limits. That's where it's a problem. But if you're careful, we're fine.
Right, right. Well, and the other thing too is like, I know, even like people talk about like, oh, well, once you start getting busy, you can hire a virtual assistant and you can do this and you can do that. Especially after having known you and, all the conversations we've had, I've been so like, well, what's your security like? Like, how am I going to give you my passwords? And like, what are you going to do with those passwords? And what are you going to do with this kind of access and this and this and that and that, and it's like, it's really hard to find somebody that you trust. Like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like for me, it was important. I wanted to hire somebody who was in the United States. I would have hired somebody in Canada as well. Like I've worked with several people in Canada, but I didn't want to just hire somebody, from a country that I'm not even familiar with them. Like I don't have any real like knowledge of them, because I'm not techie like you. Like I can't find all the dirt, or all the information.
Yeah, well, okay. So Facebook is flawed this way, and I don't like this. When you create a Facebook business page, if anyone hasn't created one, I know you use your own name, but it's your business page. You have to have your own personal Facebook account, and your own personal Facebook account has to be assigned as the person who runs the business. And right. Facebook did that so that they know who you are, so that you're a real person running the business. But right. From a personal perspective, I don't want my personal profile tied to my business. And it is. And then if I wanted to give you permission to run stuff on my page, I now have to know you as a friend.
And give access to also
give access to that stuff. So that's kind of a flaw to me on their part. So I understand coming from their side why they did it, but coming from our side, we should be able to grant access to people because in their theories, if you're not friends with them, why are you giving them access to your business? Right. But my personal profile page is run for people I deal with on literally a personal level, not necessarily a professional level.
Right, right.
And that's a distinction everyone, again, there's no rule, right? There's no rule on Facebook. And I know there are people like, I met you once, here, friend me. And then there are other people, it's like, I've known them for 20 years and I'm not friends with them on Facebook. So it depends on your rules for that.
And I coming from having dabbled, in network marketing myself, they instantly tell you, make your Facebook profile public. And I know you and I have talked about this.
Yes.
and it's not public right now, but I probably have like 50 people right now who have sent me a friend request, and I'm just like, I can't even look at this right now. They're just piling up and piling up and piling up. So if you're watching and I haven't responded to you, I'm not ignoring you. It's just so much for me right now that I just can't, But let's maybe talk a little bit about, if your time allows, let's talk a little bit about some of the risks at doing that, at opening up your Facebook page completely public, unless that's where you're running your business pretty much, even though you're not supposed to. Like,
you know what? Even if you're running, see this, this fundamentally again makes my skin crawl. Like, so I teach a course, which I call branding, but it's not branding in the sense that you do it. It's safeguarding your brand. Right. And essentially what I walk through with that is how to differentiate your personal profiles from your professional ones. So if you have a professional email address, then your LinkedIn account should be in that email address. And your personal accounts, like let's say you have Instagram, you should have like a corporate Instagram account with your business email address. Mm-hmm. And then you should also have a personal one with your personal email address. I appreciate that not everyone has a personalized address. They are inexpensive. They're easy to get. And if you get your own URL, you can get them for as little as like $10 a year. The URL is the website address.
But so even if you had 2 separate Gmail accounts, like maybe you have one like mom@gmail.com and then my business name at gmail.com. You could
perfect idea, right? And then it's free. So yeah, that is super, super easy to do. But in our personal lives, because we tend to, again, let our guards down, like you and I were just talking about the backgrounds of our screens, people tend not to curate things. So I have a friend who was selling Shanti. What is that one?
Oh, like Insanity and stuff?
Yes, yeah. And so she was a public profile, like you said, continually posting stuff. I can publicly map out the entire her house, like from the kitchen to the living room to her basement. I could tell you where the doors are. I could tell you where the expensive stuff in her house is. She puts her kids in those videos. It's just, would you walk up to a random stranger in a random city and show them pictures of the inside of your home? Because if that makes you uneasy, or that notion gets kind of creepy, is like, here's a photo album of my whole house, go look at it. Oh, and here are my kids, let me introduce you. That's what you're essentially doing by making a public page. But you're right. Like if that's your brand and you are your brand, but then you need to stick to your brand and not post things that are, my kid got an A+ on their geography test and come watch my 2-year-old do a dance in the background, because you're now defining that kid's identity for them too. And there's that's a whole other thing, but there's a lot of people who's like, oh, my kid's crying and it's funny, and so I'm going to videotape it. But because everything, again, is permanent, these kids turn 13, 14 years old, and they don't appreciate having a permanent video of them crying because it's not funny to them. It's used for people to make fun of them. So yes, if you want to make your Facebook profile public, consider it a business. Don't think of it as just letting people into your life. No matter how many reality stars and celebrities you look at, they are so fully edited. The YouTubers that are very famous will take 6 hours of video and then edit down to 3 minutes. Like nobody is live streaming their life. Right. But then you get all these mompreneurs who are like, oh, I want to be a public figure, so I'm just going to stream everything I do. That is not what these other people are doing. Right. They're editing and curating and putting the right things in the background. So if you want to do it, blank backgrounds, kids who are making their own YouTube videos, that's become really, really popular now. Blank backgrounds. Don't put them in front of the certificate from their elementary school that says where they go, right? Or the trophy from their soccer team that's right behind them. And then, yes, please try not to walk around your whole home. And like, I don't know where you are right now. You could be on a set for all I know. But yeah, some people are just like, they're seated on an island in a kitchen, and you can map out their whole living room, dining room in the back. And that's good. Look for that. I've done that. Like, you could probably, if you went through some of my videos, I bet you could map out stitch it together. A portion of my house anyways. You could, and I know like people, like you could map out my backyard, yeah. Which that doesn't bother me quite as much, but yeah, like that puts it into perspective in a whole different way, the way that we record videos and where we record them, how we record them, and like you get some people like experts and gurus that say like, hey, if you're going to do a Facebook video, you need to be moving around, you need to be walking around, because that movement attracts people, and granted, I understand that like moving your hands around and doing, which I do anyways, but
it brings people in because they're like, what is she doing? You know, but that makes really good sense. That's good advice to kind of stay put, stay stationary, or, you know, at least sit in front of a wall. You know what I mean? So that just a background behind you that you're like, oh, is she in her living room? Like, okay, I can see she's sitting on a couch, but is that her living room? Is that her family room? Is it in a basement? Is it upstairs? Like,
yeah, I do have a friend who does consulting. And so what he had done is taken a wall and painted it with chalkboard paint. And so he has his camera aimed at the wall. Mm-hmm. And when he's working, like a big whiteboard, essentially. And when he's working with clients, he just writes everything on the back wall, and they use that. Yeah, it was a really cool idea, because I remember I met with him once and I'm like, that's amazing. But yeah, I mean, if you're like, look, if you're selling doTERRA, have all your oils there, pick them up. Like, here's an oil and this is what I do. You can have visuals, but you don't need to shift rooms in your home and give away that kind of information. Right. There are insurance companies that will not insure you if you've made public announcements that you're not home. So if you are, again, trying to build a brand and you're like, hey, here's my whole family down in Florida this week, it's awesome, and then someone breaks into your house, you've basically put a sign on your door that says, hey, we're not home.
So like, say, like, what would you do? Like, I try to post, like, if we're at Disneyland, I try to post the videos when we get home, and we always have somebody, like, we always have somebody staying at our house because we have like 5,000 pets, you know, so like we have to have somebody look after everything, which is good. But, you know, aside from all that, like, so say you are running a business, and this is something, like, even for me, I'm going to be offering like a VIP retreat, and that retreat's going to be advertised, like, to my clients, like, hey, this particular weekend at the end of the year or whatever, let's go meet someplace, like.
But that's you, right? That's not you and your husband and your kids. And right. I think where we've got this new gray area, again, is in this whole world of us women trying to start businesses, is we're trying to include our families because we're trying to reach other moms as moms. And so we're like, hey, here's me and my family, and we're out at Disney, and this is awesome. And, you know, people do it for promotional purposes. Got tickets to Legoland. It's amazing. There's no reason why you have to do those live. The very least you could do them, like you said, if you want to post, you can post when you get back. Right. But giving away that public and live information while you're away, you're dead on when you said the advice that's being given by these companies to the people that are working for them is opposite of the safety advice. So the best marketing advice is be real, be authentic, share your world. And the safety advice is share a part of your world. You don't have to share it all. I have a business friend in New York, and her settings are like, I tried to search her on her behalf, but she loves shoes. And so once in a while, like totally unrelated to her business, she will take pictures of these gorgeous high heel shoes she's wearing. And so I feel like I know her because I know she has this obsession with shoes. And every time her professional shots come out, I'm like, look at her shoes. Those are amazing shoes.
You should be like one of my best friends or something.
She is a corporate businesswoman, but she releases just enough personal information to make you connect with her. And that's the trick. So pick something like, hey, I love to do yoga, so I'm going to talk about that. Or I'm a dancer and I love to dance, and talk about that. Talk about something personal, but you don't have to, like I said, interject your children, your spouse, your partner, whatever, your house map. Like, there's just things that don't have to be shared. It doesn't have to be everything.
Right. And like, even like for me, like I've been sharing that I've been not wanting to do like home-based workouts because I have a home gym. And I'm like, I just don't want to do it. And I even did an interview this morning talking about self-care for one of my friends who runs like a blog and whatever. And and I mentioned it, like I had to go to a bar method type of studio, but I didn't say what studio. I didn't say where it was, and I try to be mindful of those things. Like even like with my son's school, like if it's the first day of school, I don't take a picture of him in front of his sign. I take a picture of him in front of the door that doesn't say the address or anything. Like some people whose children have gone there may know what school that is, but those are like people that I actually know in my community anyways. And so that's okay with me. But like, I try to be mindful of that. I try to be mindful of like not taking a picture of my car with the license plate or, But
that's it. That's totally it. It's just awareness. Like, because I will talk to people all the time. They're like, so I shouldn't use the internet? No, use the internet. Use it with awareness. Go, right. I'm about to post this. Am I giving something away that's personal? Am I accidentally offending someone because it's not my purpose here? Like, that people know, my good friends would know I was joking about this, but maybe someone else wouldn't, so I just shouldn't even say it. Just be aware of everything should be considered potentially public and always permanent. And if you go with that, you will always post accordingly. So if you're posting something on a private Instagram account and you're like, well, it's private, but there could be a bug tomorrow where Instagram accidentally flips it all over and it all becomes public, or your friend could share it, even if it's private. So there's so many stories about the clouds getting hacked and pictures going to the wrong places because of software bugs that it's just not worth it. Totally not worth it. Even
like the credit bureau got hacked. What was it? A few months back or whatever. Like that was like some, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like that's where everybody's like super critical information is, it's like the Pentagon gets hacked, like they're that probably saying that probably sends them a little weird message, but like they're like the most secure.
Someone mentioned the Pentagon.
Right.
But it's true. Anything is hackable. And people will ask me that too. They're like, should I use a password software? And I'm like, everything's safe until it's not. Like that's the problem. Everything. But my credit card in my purse is safe until that one day that criminal targets me and waits until I'm like picking oranges at the grocery store and grabs it out of my purse. Like everything's safe till it's not. So we just do our best, right? We're just, you don't stick your credit card hanging out of your back pocket and then where someone can get it.
You lose it. Yeah. Or
like you just try your best.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's good. All good advice. Well, I could probably sit here and talk to you about this stuff all day long, because I find it so intriguing. And, but I know you have a really cool, like, bonus gift for everybody who's watching today. Do you want to give a little bit of insight on that and tell them why it's super awesome?
Yeah, absolutely. So, two of the most popular talks that I do for both corporate and parents, one of them is, privacy. And so what I provide for those people who attend my courses is a checklist of everything that they should be doing to ensure that their privacy is safeguarded. And the other one that I'm providing today is the checklist for parents. And so that will help you go through both what you need to do and what you need to do to help your kids. I also have tons of free resources on my own website. So that is also on that page. Again, internet safety for kids, understanding online gaming, monitoring for children, but also, again, protecting your own brand. And with the GDPR that's coming out, if people are unfamiliar with it, that's the General Data Protection Rule regulation, and that's coming on May 25th for all European citizens. But if you run a newsletter and you collect email addresses, it affects you as well. Okay. So if you're using a product like MailChimp, you need to make sure that you've upgraded it to get the right consent from people that are applying in for your newsletter. So I just wrote a blog on GDPR. It's the last one I sent out. And you can read that up for free and figure out what you need to do in order to become compliant.
Yeah, I actually just got an update from, I purchased my like terms and condition and privacy policy and stuff. I got all of that from an attorney. And she just sent me the update to be compliant with that. I think it was yesterday or the day before. So even like I need to update that, but
it affects everybody. Yeah. So, and it affects both the collecting of information and the storing. So if you're storing information on a computer, how are you ensuring that that information is not going to get hacked? And how are you ensuring that that's secure for the person that you're taking it from?
Right. We have a comment here from Carrie. Hey, girl. She says, I had a friend get hacked and they held all of her photos hostage.
How did she get hacked, and do we know?
Was it like, hey, Carrie, if you're still on, was it like on Facebook? And because I have heard about people having like their Facebook account like hijacked, and it actually happened to my sister Julie. Somebody went in and created a new Facebook account, but they went in and took like her profile pictures, like pictures that were, unfortunately, they were like forced to be public, and they started a new account. And so she found them, and she was just like, hey, like she wasn't very nice about it. Like,
you can report on just about any network or all networks. There's always a pull down to say, hey, this isn't the account. And unfortunately, that's become so popular, especially teenagers do it. They'll steal someone else's photo and create like a fake Instagram account with that kid's photo so that they can DM other friends and talk behind their backs as someone else. It is super popular. It's scary. So they'll take those photos. So now there's a pull down that actually says like this account is not currently being run by the person who claims that they are this person and somebody else. Like it's worded better than that, but there's a pull down for that. So different ways that people typically get hacked. One of the big ones is public Wi-Fi. If you're in Starbucks and you want to use Wi-Fi, it is so easy for someone to intercept your password. So don't put in any kind of password. If you are already connected into a system, then it's called encrypted. So it's like basically like a secret code. So if I've signed into, let's say, Gmail, I've said, okay, here's my secret code, and then Gmail has it. And then when I send my messages via Gmail through Wi-Fi, they're all coded. If someone tried to intercept it, it would be useless. But if I logged into my email while I was in Starbucks, then someone could grab my name and my password. So that could potentially be what happened to your friend, that somebody could have snagged her. It's called credentials. So your email plus your password is your credentials. Someone could have snagged it in a public Wi-Fi. People often leave stuff logged in. You should always log out, especially if you share a computer. Or you should log out of your stuff. The other really popular thing that people claim they're being hacked is not. So this is really critical. If you're downloading an application onto your device and it asks you for access to your contacts, have this all the time, right? Like you download Instagram and it says, we would like to connect with all your contacts. Can we have access to your contacts? You're basically allowing it a list of every email address that they know that you know. So what happens is people want free apps. So you go to download like Sudoku or a crossword, and it says, can we have your contacts? And people are like, sure, whatever, because people don't pay attention. And that's okay. But what happens is that that company takes your name and all the affiliated email addresses and turns around and sells it. And so as a hacker, I send an email to everyone that you know, and it looks like it's from you. It's from me, but it's got your name in it. So on their email, they see Amie Pederson. They're like, oh, great, look, there's an email from Amie. And then they open it. And then sometimes you get those like, oh, I forgot to tell you I was going to Florida and I got stuck and I lost my wallet. Can you send me $200? And then the person's like, oh my God, I got hacked. You didn't get hacked. You gave away your contact information. So again, awareness. If you are downloading an app and it asks for something that you don't need to give it, do not give that information away. Flashlight does not need your location. Anything that doesn't need contacts shouldn't have access to your contacts. The big ones are location, contact, microphone, and camera. And so you just want to be very, very wary of all of those guys.
Yeah. Carrie says her personal computer is all I know. Sorry to be vague. That's okay. So, I mean, Kat just told us like 50 million different ways that your information gets out there. So, or hacked. Yeah.
So my favorite was last year, I got this message from someone randomly and they're like, Kat, why are you posting weird photos on Facebook? And I'm like, I haven't posted a photo on Facebook in months, so I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, you should probably go look at your account. So I had injured my shoulder and I was chronicling it via photo of like bruises and redness. And Facebook had introduced this new feature where it said, hey, you haven't posted in a while, so let me just grab the last 3 photos on your camera.
Oh my gosh.
And it didn't tell me, and it posted the last 3 photos that were on my camera roll. So that's one of my favorite stories to tell people who like to send sexts, because if you have a photo on your camera that you wouldn't want shared with someone else, you might want to consider not having it on your camera, because it
that movie about it being in the cloud, and then like, or you know, like they have that cloud share. I didn't see the movie, but there's the cloud sharing, and it like sent their video to like all their friends and family that were sharing that in the cloud, like. Or like we have an old iPhone. It's not hooked up to anything, like you can't make a phone call or anything on it, so we'll let Easton play on it, but not even realizing it, like anytime it connects to Wi-Fi, because my husband and I share an iTunes account. Well, this old phone of ours is still hooked up to that iTunes account. Well, he gets all our pictures, like luckily they're all like rated G, you know, like a picture of a horse or a picture of a tractor, or a picture of something random from, you know, work, or a selfie or something. So not anything, you know, bad or anything, but it's like, oh, well, that's kind of an eye opener. Like, so for
anytime, anywhere. So a girlfriend of mine sent me a picture of her 2-year-old totally naked in 4 pairs of sunglasses. It was 2 years old though, right? But one on his face, one on his neck, one on his waist, one hanging off his penis, because it was funny. But she sent me this photo via text, and I was like, why are you sending me this? Like, you know what I do for a living? She's like, oh, look how adorable he looks. I'm like, okay, but please don't like capture this in digitally, and please don't send it to me. So I deleted it. She said she deleted it. And then a couple months later, my daughter was using my iPad and she's like, there's no room on it. I'm like, well, I don't know why. Let's go check the storage. And I go into storage and I don't remember setting this. Again, default settings all the time. There was an iCloud thing where it was picking up all of the photos that other people had sent me in texts and throwing them into the cloud. So there was a naked picture of her son sitting in cloud access to my photos. So if I was less tech savvy and had just given my child my iPad, let's say I bought a new one and gave her my old one or whatever it was, there was access to this picture via that iPad I didn't even know was there.
Right. And luckily it's just a little tiny person, like, but still, I mean, still.
Yeah, but it could have been so much worse.
Yeah. What if it was, like you said, people who do sexting and different things, like that's crazy. But yeah, like, I feel like, you know, and even people that I've kind of like looked up to, like when I was doing network marketing and different things, like, and I probably even share too much about like my kid stuff, you know, like not so much on like my Instagram or on my business page, but, you know, I will post a picture of like my kids doing something random, you know, like wherever, or like my youngest, he got a scrape on his head, you know, because he biffed it off the curb the last time we were at Disneyland. You know, it's just, you don't even think about it sometimes. And then you're like, oh, I just totally said that I was not at my house. Like,
yeah. Well, and again, we get into this little headspace where you just want to share in that moment. And it's very easy to forget all the extra details that come with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So even myself, like I got to remember, and I have a different method, like a different way that I share, you know, more stuff with my kids that, you know,
with closer family or whatever.
Yeah, like I have a closed, private, secret group that I call like a journal for my kids. And I have people like my mom in there and my sisters and my in-laws and, you know, those type of people where I send them like more bulk stuff so they can see like more of the day-to-day stuff and, you know, a little bit more of that kind of stuff. What do you think about that as far as like, what if somebody we mentioned in there, like, oh, he's going to this school now? Or, you know, he's going to this other place, or we were, you know, we are at Disneyland. Like, is that still accessible? Like,
it's accessible to the network. You always have to be careful. There was a Facebook security officer just like last week that was fired for stealing private information on people and using it to like hit on women. Which of course, when you hear the story, you're like, that's totally inappropriate, but it's done already, right? So one of the new issues we have is what's called biometrics. Biometrics are physically identifying features about you, like your fingerprints, your voice, your face print. Your face print is a thing. So when we continually put pictures up of ourselves and our kids, we are adding to that biometric data. And the more face prints that they have, the more accuracy they have.
Got it.
There was this software developer in Russia that had used VK as the Russian equivalent of Facebook. And basically, he'd used public photos that he could find. He went on the subway and he took pictures of people who were randomly sitting on the subway. He was like a PhD student, so he was doing this from a study perspective. And then he was mapping them to their Facebook profiles or their VK profiles. And then he had a whole page on like, here's random person is this person, is this person, is this person. So one of the things to consider is that if you're continually posting these pictures of ourselves and our children, it means they're identifiable in other photos by other people. Other people can do that. And Facebook actually has a tagging feature, although, again, they're now getting in trouble for everything privacy-wise, but they do have a tagging feature where they'll say, we think this is your friend Bob. Is it your friend Bob? And they've done that because Bob has allowed them to take his face print and use a biometric to identify him to tag and other things. So you can turn that feature off. One thing I tell people, like everyone's got a time they're waiting. If you're waiting for your kids in a lesson, if you're waiting for a doctor's appointment, whatever it is, please take the time to go through your settings. Go through them, like all of them. You will be shocked at the number of apps you have on your phone that are using your camera that shouldn't be, or using your location that shouldn't be. And then if you go into Facebook, which they've tried to clean up, you will be shocked at the number of apps you have attached to your Facebook account, right? So that's one of the things in that checklist is to go through the accounts that you have and then go through the settings for each of those accounts. Because there's no sense in giving out all of this extra information that we just don't need to do it.
Yeah, definitely. No, I fully agree. And like I said, you know, I'm guilty of so many of these things that I'm just kind of like, oh no. And even still, and I've known you for all this time, like it was way worse before, like, because I had the public profile, I had all these things, and you know, to be relatable, like, you know, people know I'm a mom, you know, like they'll get the random, like, there's a chance at any given time on any one of these interviews that one of my kids could pop in here, you know, like, it happens. But now I'm like, oh man, I gotta get it together, you know? So it's like, if any of you guys who are out there and you're thinking like, oh crap, like I've been doing this all wrong, this is how I was taught to do it, blah, 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 whatever's going through your mind, I'm guilty of it too. So I'm right there. But, you know, it's kind of like, even with Kat, she's like an expert. And then she even was like, oh, these things come up. Like, I didn't know that my text message pictures were going to the cloud too. Like, and it's always like an ongoing evolution of learning and updating and, you know, kind of trial and error, if you will. But I one of the reasons why I was so like, Kat, I have to have you do my show. I have to have you do my show, is because there's so much information that we're putting out there that, one, doesn't need to be out there, and two, could be damaging. So I know a lot of the people that are my clients, that are my followers, are part of network marketing, and don't throw rocks at us because we're telling you that the way things have been done are maybe a little bit, not saying that it's the wrong way to do it, but maybe it's a little bit less secure than you realized.
And again, I'm not a marketing expert. I'm a tech person, right? So in the same sense, the people who are giving marketing advice are not tech experts. They're not people who know the safety and privacy issues. I will get tech people with technical degrees who do technical jobs who still don't realize how much information they're giving away. Like, this is a totally different world. So yeah, I fully appreciate, we want to sell online. We want to be authentic online. But again, being authentic, I mean, this is who I am. I can tell you all sorts of things about myself without telling you my kids' names and ages and the school they go to. And you're still a relatable mom. You're still that person, even without all that additional data.
Well, and the other thing too is, not only are people like who want to break into your house or do like shady things, not only are they able to see what you're doing, but I did a little Facebook like training, like for Facebook ads, and the analytics of what Facebook knows about you, it's like FBI status. It's like, they know how much your household income is. They know what kind of cars you drive. They know, I mean, they know where you shop. They know everything. Like, you can, if you want to talk about getting into like your target audience, like your niche person, like, you know, for me, I have like this ideal client and I named her Emma, and this is what she looks like and this is what she does and whatever. Facebook can find her, like narrow it down to like, I can send a message, like a Facebook ad to her specifically, basically, you know, because you can set those parameters, but they're tracking you. Like, they track you with like, you know, it's like, it's not a coincidence. Like, when you're talking about, like, if you go in and you look at something on Amazon and then you don't buy it, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, look at this floor steamer cleaner thingy that I was just looking at. Like, it's like haunting me. I have to buy it.
Direct marketing. Yeah, that's called direct marketing, where you go from one site to another and it follows you around. And it's very popular. It should, again, be reduced by the GDPR that's coming in, because that's one of the things you can opt out of. But we are not European citizens. So if a service is not clever enough to figure out where we live, then it's safer for them on a universal level to just say, okay, we're going to make this whole service more safe and secure and follow the compliance for GDPR. If they say, look, we have a really easy way, like Facebook, unfortunately, has an office in Ireland. So all the European citizens that create Facebook accounts automatically go through that office. So they basically have an Irish European version of Facebook, which means we don't get the same luxury of all of these new updates because they know we are not in Europe. But people are calling for change, right? That's one of the nice things, is like, we're like, oh my God, we're giving this away. Another thing is that we're at the mercy of our networks. So I could create a Facebook account and connect to all the people I know and literally do nothing on it, just connect to them. And they would have a pretty good guess, like you said, of my household income, my education level, my political affiliation, because I tend to surround myself with people who have the same beliefs as I do, right? And the same everything as I do.
Even if you think you're pretty diverse, like for me, you know, it's like, because I don't have really like a political side. I float around kind of in the middle. So it's no secret that I'm a registered independent but I have people, you know, I have family members who are so far one side and family members who are so far the other side. I'm almost curious. I mean, there was like a Facebook post actually, maybe last month, and it said something about you could go in and look at some certain kind of setting and it would tell you what your political following was. And a lot of people were doing that just to see if it was accurate. Mine was accurate. Like it said, like you don't really have a strong affiliation either way. Like you're in the middle type of thing, which is true. And, you know, love it or hate it, whatever, that's how it is. But it's kind of scary to think that a lot of people got like, yes, I'm extra liberal, or yes, I'm extra conservative. But for Facebook to know that, like, it's kind of.
So there was one of my favorite stories. There was a guy in Florida who was gay, but hadn't told anybody at all. So it wasn't on his Facebook page, but whatever he was doing online, Facebook knew. So he got an advertisement for a gay cruise, and he called them up and said, this is, you know, defamatory, and you're saying things about me that aren't true. But then they proved that he was in fact gay. And so I think what had happened is he was on Facebook at work and the ad came up. And so he was like, oh, I don't know why I'm getting that ad. And then he went and turned around and said, hey, Facebook, I should be getting that ad. But Facebook knows. Facebook knows if you say I hate celebrity gossip, but you are clicking on all the web pages with celebrity gossip, they know. They know you. They know if you like the trashy articles or not. They know if you're reading like all the intellectual ones. They know who you follow online, right? So,
right.
Yeah. And up until recently, they were really following you from other websites too. So they really knew where you went after you were done using Facebook. They knew which website you went to and what you were shopping for, like you're saying, and what you were doing.
Scary.
Yeah.
So much to think about. Like,
so much.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It really is a lot. But even just this little bit, I mean, obviously this information only scratches the surface, right? But like, this is like huge to get people started, like at least in the right direction. Like I didn't know that insurance companies wouldn't cover you if you said, hey, I'm at Disneyland, and then someone came and stole all your crap, right? And actually, speaking of like trashy gossip stuff, I watched The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and I was watching the reunion thing the other day, and one of the girls on there, you know, she's a reality TV show. They showed like, hey, she's moving into this house. This is what the front of the house looks like. I don't know if it showed the street address or not, but I'm sure, you know, you can kind of figure it out by looking what's on the market. And, you know, that's public record in the US of when somebody has a home sale transaction. And they went to another country or somewhere. No, they went to Colorado or something skiing for Christmas, and got a notification that, and their alarm system was still being installed. So it wasn't even all the way up and running yet. And there was over $1 million worth of like handbags and jewelry and watches and, you know, some stuff that couldn't be replaced, stolen from her. But that's like the perfect example. Like she probably put on Instagram, like, or whatever she does. I don't follow her. Like, hey, we're enjoying, you know, our great time here at this beautiful lodge and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And someone's probably like, yeah. And granted, maybe it's like old school where they were like scoping them out. Like, yeah, these people went out of town. Now's our chance. I don't know. But that opens like a huge door, a huge window, like to say like, yeah, we're going to be gone for a week, you know? So even though it's kind of like for us, it's like, okay, we've got family vacation planned this year. It's like, okay, so we just hold back and we just share it when we get back. So that way we're home.
Absolutely. So my favorite local story is a small town that's near me had a hockey game. And so there was a public event page on Facebook and all the families were chiming in going, we'll all be there. Can't wait. And some local teenagers went and broke into all the homes that had indicated they'd be at the game. So, I mean, the kids were caught and nobody was blamed for that, but that is a perfect example of a very innocent situation where a local team was in this thing and and they knew they were targeting it and they looked for the online stuff and they went.
Yeah, it's scary. So, I mean, there's a whole gamut of stuff here, like from having your home burglarized to, you know, having your photos and your profiles like completely hijacked and, you know, held hostage essentially. Like there's so many different things. Or like you were saying, you know, like maybe you posted something, you know, when you were 19 years old and now you're 40 and I don't even know if the internet's been around that long. Like, I don't know, but like then you're So for people who are 19 right now, be cautious of what you post, because when you're 40, it'll definitely be internet. But that might prevent you, like, so say you're applying for, you know, some high level position with like the FBI or something, just say, they could find that and be like, no, we saw what you were doing in 2018 and it ain't happening. Like,
there was a paralegal in town and her resume was amazing, and she tried to get a job at a local law firm, and they went into her Facebook account and she had walked in a PETA march, the People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, and she was totally naked except for red paint, and they didn't hire her. And again, no one's going to tell her, no one's going to call her up and say, hey, it's this PETA photo and it's online and you should untag yourself. Like, no one's telling her that. She just doesn't know why she didn't get that job.
And that sucks. I mean, it sucks because, you know, for her, that was a good cause. She was taking a stance for animals, whatever the reason was, you know, but maybe these other people are like avid hunters and they're big game hunters or something. You just never know, right?
You never know, but it was the nudity for them because they were a very conservative law firm. It was the nudity that they had an issue with. But again, yeah, like, I mean, you could be like, I don't care. I walk naked. I'm a nudist. So if you're not going to hire me because I'm a nudist, that's fine. But that's what I'm saying. Whatever you're doing, as long as you're willing to stand behind it and say, you want to take me to task on that issue? Yes, I will. Then I don't want to work for you anyway. That's fine.
Right. But like you said, a lot of places, they're just like, oh, we've chosen another candidate and they leave it.
You never know. So you are totally responsible for your own online reputation.
Yeah. Carrie says, so much I had no idea. And, whoops, pressing the wrong buttons over here. And Jackie says, hi.
If anyone has any questions, you're welcome to message me. So I'm Binary Tattoo on Facebook, my company page, or you can just send me CAT at binarytattoo.com, and I am always happy to help.
Yes. And also, you guys, I put the link in above. I will put it in the comments when I get back over to Facebook. And make sure you guys take advantage of the gift that Kat's given us. I've already like looked it over, and I'm going to be taking advantage of it. So sign up for that. Get the list. Use it. You know, start to implement some of these things. Be mindful when you're starting a new company, if it's MLM, if it's independent, if it's, you know, even if you're starting like a brick and mortar style company, like an electrical company, like be mindful also of your customers' privacy. Like, don't take a picture of the front of their house if it shows their address. Like, don't take it, or even like, I say this because I co-own an electrical company. Like, don't go through, like you're saying, like, and do a live video of all the neat lights you did and give somebody a map out of somebody else's home. Because here's the thing, who knows? They could come back and sue you for that if they're ever broken into, right? Like, oh, well, you gave somebody the blueprint of my house, essentially, because you shared my information on Facebook. And chances are that they didn't get a waiver or, you know, a release.
Consent. If in doubt, always get consent. I'm collecting your email address for this purpose. I'm going to use it for this. And then that way, when they're consenting to it, again, if you use programs like MailChimp and things like that, it will have it built in. So like a lot of those newsletters.
Yeah. Well, and even like on your own website, like, or I think when you go to collect payment for some stuff too, I know there's a spot for it, but like some places are like, I think it's like lead pages and stuff. Like they're like, we need your terms and condition, attach those here.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But that
it can be in English. You don't have to have a fancy terms and conditions, but you have to have one.
Yeah. And well, and the other thing too, that I was just talking with the attorney, who she's part of like a mom like business network that I've met her in person and everything, and she's fantastic. But she was telling me, and also something I didn't know, it's like a felony or something crazy, like to borrow somebody else's terms and conditions and then just change the company names. Like, you're not allowed to do that. Like, I didn't know that. Like, there's something about, she's going to be on the show here.
There are templates. I don't know if that's some of them. Like, there are templates online. So if you do have your own website, absolutely. If you search terms and conditions or privacy policy templates, you will get templates that you can alter on your own. Correct. I suspect what she's talking about is if there's any kind of legal stamp on that says this lawyer wrote this and you've altered it, that would be a felony, right?
Or
because
if I went to your page and just copy and pasted yours and then changed it from Binary Tattoo to AmiePederson.com, that I think there's something about that. And I don't know all the details.
You can do that with mine because mine is a templated that I wrote. I wrote it. So you could technically take mine and then cut and paste my name out of it and put yours in, and you'd be okay.
Yeah, but for whatever reason, there's something about it. And like I said, I don't know all the details to it.
I suspect, again, it's because usually when a lawyer writes it, at the very bottom, it'll say, like, you know. Yeah.
And, but like, there's all these things that like, we just don't know. So this was like one of the biggest things, like, that when I met you, I was like, holy crap, like, it opened a whole new world to me. And it opened, like, it really is an eye-opening thing, because then you really stop to think about it. You're like, I could never get a job with the FBI now, like, you know.
Well, I'm launching, we had talked about this, an all-day course where I walk people through this privacy stuff and how to set their stuff up, but I also teach them how to find themselves using the tools that the investigators are using, because all that stuff is free and online. And so it used to be, I used to search people and tell them what I found, but it was like, no, you need to just know how to do this and own it, so that you can also do it with your kids and your family and your friends.
Right. And yeah, it's just, and if you did something silly, you know, 10, 20, 30 years ago or whatever, just be like, you know, I was 19, I went to Stagecoach, like whatever, you know, like whatever. But, or, you know, like your friend who was marching with PETA, like, yeah, I'm an avid animals rights activist, whatever, like, yeah, so what? Don't hire me. You know, like you said, don't hire me because I don't want to work for you anyways, like that type of thing. So yeah, there is a difference between owning it and thinking that you've tucked it away when, like you said, it's got a permanent imprint on the internet. Like, you even think back to like, what's it called? MySpace. Like, how many people have a MySpace account? You know, whatever happened to those? Like, are they still there? Can you even still log in? I'm going to go look. I wonder if it's like even like an active website now. Like,
if you want to kill time, there's a website called the Wayback Machine, and the Wayback Machine, you can type in, the address of a web page and a date, and it will give you what that web page looked like on that date. So if you remember your MySpace account name,
I don't.
and type in the date for it, Wayback Machine might have it. It's actually a great thing when you're running your own website. You're like, what did I used to have here on this page? And then you can go look at it, and they'll have like these periodic snapshots of what your page looked like. And you're like, oh, that's super helpful.
Well, that makes sense, because you could do that on your computer. If you have to do like a restore, you're like, I want to restore it to 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, they don't, it's unpredictable. So you don't know when they'll have it, but they will have some snapshot of it, which is sometimes how they pull tweets from people, where they're like, I deleted that tweet. Okay, but if Wayback happened to snap your Twitter feed on that day, then you can
it. Oh man, good stuff. Well, I have taken up a ton of your time. Like I said, I could talk to you all day about this stuff, because there's
super fun.
There's so much to cover. But I'll let you get back to all of the things that you do all day long, and
all the mom things and the work things and the
laundry.
Yes. I do have to change the laundry. That was a good reminder. I do have to change the laundry.
I have to still put mine away. Like, I've been waiting. I washed it all like over the weekend. It's like Thursday, so I'm kind of like, it's folded.
I'm okay with. I fold right out of the dryer, so it's already ready to put away. It's the
wet stuff waiting to be
the wet stuff in the washing machine right now that I'm just like, oh yeah, I gotta go move that so I don't find it tomorrow and go,
Well, and the dumb thing is, like, my washer and dryer, like, I don't have it set up, but it's like Wi-Fi capable. You can do like hook it to your smartphone. I'm like, what's the point of this? Like, I'm like, maybe it's because if you leave it in there too long, you can start a load, like refresh it. I don't know. Like, I'm not hooking up my washer and dryer to my.
No, don't, because it's an access to your whole network, and that's a whole other topic of conversation.
There you have it, people. If you have a smart washer and dryer, don't make it smart.
Anything can be used to access your whole network. So a casino was just hacked because they used the thermometer in the aquarium that was inside the casino was hooked up to the internet, and hackers went in through the thermometer.
Yikes! I have one of those. I have an internet thermometer. I don't actually use it hardly ever. I mean, it's
change the passwords. Just change the default passwords.
Okay.
So nobody can get in that way. Yeah.
No password. We don't adjust our temperature a lot in this part of the world over here, so pretty consistent. But, good stuff. All right. Well, thank you, Kat.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. And there's a good chance we're going to have Kat back on the show as things evolve in this online space that we're in. But definitely take advantage of that gift she's given us, those checklists, those resources, and make sure you give her a like and a follow on her business page, Binary Tattoo, and keep track of what she's got going on and the workshops that she has coming up, because as you can see here, this is just like scratching the surface. So you'll definitely, if you're concerned at all about your internet security, your online virtual, thumbprint, then you're definitely going to want to learn more and stay in tune with Kat. So